All right, ready to dive deep. Today it's all about intermittent fasting.
Oh, yeah, I
It's
do.
tailored just for you. It's not so much about what you eat,
Right.
but when you eat.
Yeah.
It's all about those cycles. Eating, fasting, eating, fasting.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's gotten huge, hasn't it?
It really has.
From this like niche thing to what feels like the whole world's talking about it.
Yeah.
Weight loss, heart health,
hmm
even brain benefits, they say.
There's a lot of buzz, that's for sure.
So let's cut through the hype.
Yeah, let's do it.
Get to what the science really says. What do you think?
I think that's key. Absolutely. You got to separate fact from fiction with all this stuff. Intermittent fasting, I mean, it's not magic, right?
Right.
But it's powerful. There's real science behind it.
So for someone who's like totally new to this whole thing,
Yeah.
how would you explain it? What's the basic idea of IF?
Imagine it's like an eating pattern,
Okay.
but scheduled.
Yeah.
You've got your eating periods, then you've got your fasting periods. And I say voluntary fasting because it's not about starving yourself or anything like that. It's strategic. Think way back, to our hunter-gatherer ancestors.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
they didn't have grocery stores on every corner.
Actually,
They couldn't just eat whenever they wanted, right?
right.
So their bodies evolved. They had to function even with, periods of going without food.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So in a way, intermittent fasting, it kind of taps back into that ancient wisdom our bodies have.
I like that.
Yeah.
So it's less like a diet and more like changing your eating patterns.
Exactly. It's not what you eat necessarily, it's when you eat. There are a few popular methods, of course, like the 168.
Okay.
That's where you eat within an 8-hour window, then fast for 16.
Right, right.
And then there's the 5.2. You eat normally for 5 days
Uh-huh.
and restrict calories for 2 non-consecutive days.
Okay. So there's like different ways to actually do it.
Absolutely. Flexibility is key.
So how does this time-restricted eating,
Yeah.
how does that lead to all these benefits we keep hearing about?
Yeah. Well, it's all about what happens on a metabolic level, right?
Okay.
So you fast for a good chunk of time. Eventually, your body, it burns through all that stored sugar, glucose,
Okay.
for energy, and then it has to switch to something else.
Makes sense.
And that something else is stored fat. Like flipping a switch, suddenly you're a fat burner instead of a sugar burner.
So it's like we have this like hidden energy reserve
Yeah, you could say that.
and we're just tapping into it.
You got it.
I like it. That's a good way to put it.
And that's really at the heart of a lot of the benefits, especially with weight loss. I mean, that's a big reason people are looking into IF in the
Yeah.
first place.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Does IF really help people lose weight?
The research is promising. There have been a good number of studies, and they show pretty convincingly that IF can lead to significant weight loss. And not just any weight loss, a reduction in visceral fat.
Okay, hold on. Visceral fat. That sounds serious. I mean, we all want to lose a little belly fat,
Sure.
but what makes visceral fat different?
It's not just about looks. This is the fat that's deep inside surrounding your organs.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's in your abdominal cavity, and it's metabolically active.
Right.
So it's actually releasing these inflammatory substances
Oh, no.
that increase your risk for some serious health issues. Type 2 diabetes, heart disease, things like that.
So it's like silently dangerous.
Exactly, like a hidden threat. And MF, it seems to be particularly good at targeting this type of fat.
Interesting.
Now, you might be thinking, well, any diet where you eat less will help me lose weight. And yeah, there's some truth to that.
Right.
But MF, it's not just about eating less. It goes beyond that.
I'm intrigued. What else is going on?
Hormones. MF affects your hormones in a way that really helps with fat burning.
Okay.
For example, it lowers your insulin levels. Insulin's a hormone that tells your body to store fat.
Gotcha.
And at the same time, it increases human growth hormone, or HGH,
Right. HGH.
which we know boosts fat burning.
So like your hormones are working with you to lose weight.
Exactly. And there's more.
Ferment.
Some research, and this is really interesting, suggests that short-term fasting might actually boost your metabolism.
Wait, really? A metabolism booster. How does that even work?
Well, the exact mechanisms are still, being studied,
Okay.
but it seems like that metabolic switch we talked about, going from sugar to fat,
Right.
it may lead to this temporary increase in your metabolic rate, like giving your metabolism a little jump start.
Wow. So IF is like doing all this stuff behind the scenes.
It's pretty remarkable.
But I've also heard, and this is a concern I've heard, about muscle loss with IF.
Yeah, that's a valid concern.
Is that true?
It's something to consider. Most studies, they show positive results, but there's one study they were looking at the 168 method specifically,
Okay.
and they found a significant amount of lean muscle loss.
Oh, wow.
which, needs more research for
Yeah.
sure.
Okay.
But it does highlight that IAF isn't a one-size-fits-all solution.
Uh-huh.
Everyone responds differently.
So not a guaranteed weight loss thing, and there are things to be careful of.
Mm. Absolutely. It's really crucial to have a balanced perspective on this, and ideally, talk to a healthcare professional before you jump in.
That makes sense. It's not for everyone,
No.
but there's obviously more to IF than just weight loss. What other benefits are we looking at here?
You're right, there is. It's like IF has these ripple effects, it impacts so many things.
Yeah, and that's what's so cool about it. But before we go down all those rabbit holes
Yeah.
of benefits and stuff,
Yeah.
let's get practical.
Yeah.
There are a lot of ways to do IF,
There are.
and it can be a little overwhelming, to be honest.
Oh, yeah.
Where do you even start?
You're not wrong. Figuring out the right way to do it, that's key.
Yeah, it's got to be right for you.
Exactly. One size doesn't fit all.
So walk us through some of the most popular methods.
Okay.
What are the main options people are usually considering?
Okay, so probably the most well-known is the 168 method.
Right.
It's also called time-restricted feeding. And it's pretty straightforward. Basically, you fast for 16 hours a day, then you eat within an 8-hour window.
So your digestive system gets a good break.
Exactly. For a lot of people, it just means skipping breakfast, having their first meal around noon,
Uh-huh.
and then their last meal by 8 p.m. or so.
Okay, that sounds kind of doable.
Uh-huh.
But 16 hours without eating, do people really adjust to that?
It's surprising, but yeah, a lot of people, once they get over that initial, hump,
Yeah.
they don't even feel that hungry during their fasting window.
Really?
And, you can still have water, black coffee, unsweetened tea, stuff like that.
Okay.
That can help with the hunger pangs.
Staying hydrated is important, always.
For sure.
Okay, so that's 168. What else is out there? What are the other popular methods?
Another one's the 5.2 method. So this one, you eat normally 5 days a week.
Okay.
And then you restrict your calories to about 500 to 600 for 2 non-consecutive days.
So too many fasting days.
Exactly. On those days, you're not totally avoiding food, just significantly cutting back.
This seems like a good option for people who maybe don't want to fast every day.
Can be.
Any tips for those fasting days to make it easier?
Planning. Prep your meals, your snacks in advance
That makes sense.
so you don't make bad choices when you get hungry. And focus on foods that, keep you feeling fuller longer,
Okay. Yeah.
even with fewer calories. Nutrient-dense stuff.
Good advice. Set yourself up for success.
Right.
Okay, so we've got 168. We've got 5.2. There are other variations out there, right?
Yeah, there are.
Like alternate day fasting and then even longer fasts. Can you talk about those a little bit?
Sure. Alternate day fasting, it basically takes the 5.2 and cranks it up a notch.
Oh,
You alternate between a day of eating normally and then a day of either fasting completely
wow.
or just having very, very low calories.
So intense 5.2.
Yeah, you could think of it that way, but it's definitely not for everyone. It can be really tough.
Yeah, I bet.
And it's really important with this one especially, listen to your body.
Right.
Talk to a doctor before you try it.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And those longer fasts, 24 hours or more,
Yeah.
are those safe? Are they even beneficial?
Longer fasts, they're not for beginners. You shouldn't do them without guidance from a healthcare professional.
Okay, why is that? What are the risks with those longer fasts?
Well, you can get electrolyte imbalances.
Right.
You can get dehydrated. And sometimes people, when they break those longer fasts, they end up kind of overeating.
Oh, wow.
It's called rebound overeating. So yeah, be careful. Don't jump into extreme fasting without talking to a doctor.
Yeah, that makes sense. And this is important. It's easy to forget. But ANHAF is not just about weight loss.
Right? It's not. It's a tool. It can be helpful, but it works best when it's part of an overall healthy lifestyle.
So it's not like you can just go back to all your old eating habits
Right.
once your fasting period's over.
Exactly. It's not a free pass. Think of it as one piece of the puzzle. For long-term success, you got to combine it with, a balanced diet, exercise, all those good habits.
Right. So it's not a magic solution. It's part of the bigger picture.
Exactly. It's about making sustainable changes.
Okay, so let's talk about making IF work in real life because there's so much to think about.
There is. One big thing is choosing the right method, the one that actually works for you, your life, what you like.
Yeah.
If you hate the idea of skipping breakfast, 168 is probably not going to be your best friend.
Yeah, it's got to be sustainable.
Right. And another key thing is listening to your body, to those hunger cues.
Okay.
It shouldn't make you miserable. It shouldn't feel like you're constantly starving.
Right.
If you are, then you probably need to adjust something. your fasting schedule, your calorie intake, something.
So don't push yourself too hard.
No, it's about finding that balance where you get the benefits, but you don't feel like you're fighting yourself.
Right, that makes sense. I'm curious about the social aspect of this.
Yeah.
Because eating is often a social thing.
It is.
So how do you do IF when you've got, like, friends, family dinners, all that stuff?
That's a good point. The key is communication. Be upfront with the people in your life about your IF routine. Explain why you're doing it.
So maybe, like, skip those last-minute lunch dates?
You don't have to become a hermit.
Okay, good.
You can adjust your eating window sometimes.
Okay.
Or if you're going out, choose restaurants that have, healthier options that fit your goals.
So be flexible.
Right. Adapt IF to your social life. Don't let it control you.
I like that. So it's really about finding what works for you.
It really is. It's a personal journey. And it's great if you can have some professional guidance along the way,
Yeah?
Like talk to a registered dietitian or a healthcare professional.
Right.
They can help you create a plan that really fits your individual needs and goals.
Okay, that's a good reminder.
Yeah.
Always good to have an expert in your corner, especially if you've got any health conditions.
Absolutely. Now, there are a lot of questions and concerns people have about IF.
Well, yeah, for sure.
So let's tackle some of those. What are some common, myths or misconceptions you've come across?
Oh, there are so many. One I hear all the time is that EF will slow down your metabolism,
Yeah, that's a big one.
and then you'll, gain weight in the long run.
People are scared of that.
Yeah.
But honestly, there's no scientific evidence to back that up. In fact, like we talked about earlier, short-term fasting might actually speed up your metabolism.
So no starvation mode.
Nope. Your body's smarter than that.
That's good to know. What about, the idea that IF is just a fad diet
Oh, yeah.
with, no real science behind it?
That's definitely not true. We've seen the research. There's a growing body of evidence
Yeah.
showing IF's benefits for, all sorts of things.
So it's not going away anytime soon.
It's here to stay. We need more long-term studies on humans, sure, but the evidence we do have, it's pretty convincing.
Okay, that's good to know. Another one I hear a lot is that IF is just too difficult. People can't stick with it, they give up.
It does take discipline. You got to plan.
Right.
But it's not as impossible as some people think. The key is finding the right method, the one that fits your life, and then ease into it.
Yeah. Okay.
Don't go cold turkey. Don't suddenly deprive yourself for hours on end.
Right.
That's a recipe for disaster. Start slow, shorter fasts, gradually increase as you get comfortable. And remember, you're not alone. There's a ton of support out there.
Okay.
Online communities, resources, that kind of thing. It can really help.
I think that's a good point. Connecting with other people who are doing it.
Yeah, it can make a huge difference.
Okay, so that's really helpful, I think, debunking some of those myths.
I hope so.
Now let's get specific, questions our listener might have. One that I always hear is, what can I eat and drink during my eating windows?
Yeah.
Are there restrictions?
That's a great question. And the answer is, as with most things, it depends. Some protocols are stricter than others.
Okay, can you give us some examples?
Sure. Some people do IF in combination with specific diets, like keto
Oh, right.
or the Mediterranean diet.
So it's IF plus a specific way of eating.
Exactly. But even if you're not doing a strict diet alongside IF,
Yeah.
it's still super important to eat good food during your eating windows. Make healthy choices.
So no junk food just because you're fasting part of the day.
Right, exactly. That
Got it.
defeats the whole purpose. You want to be fueling your body with, good fats, lean proteins, complex carbs,
Right.
fruits, veggies, all that good stuff.
Quality over quantity.
Exactly. And of course, stay hydrated throughout the day,
Right.
especially when you're fasting.
So important. What about exercise? Can you work out while you're fasting, or is it better to do it after you've eaten?
It depends. Some people, they've got tons of energy while they're fasting and they love working out. Then
Right.
others, they need to eat first. It's very individual.
So listen to your body.
Yeah. And it's smart to adjust your workout based on how you feel. If you're new to IF, maybe start with lighter stuff.
Okay.
Gradually increase intensity as you adapt.
Okay, that's really helpful advice. Before we wrap up this part, I want to touch on something else, mindset,
Oh, yeah, that's huge.
because I think that plays a big role in whether IF work for you or not.
Absolutely. Mindset is everything when you're making a lifestyle change, especially with IF.
So what are some key mindset shifts that can help people?
Okay, one big one is how you view food,
Right.
reframe your relationship with it. ICOMAF isn't about deprivation.
Mhm.
It's about making choices, conscious choices about when you eat and what you eat.
So taking back control.
Exactly, you're in charge.
Yeah.
Another one is focus on the positives. Don't dwell on what you're giving up.
Right.
Celebrate what you're gaining. More energy, better mental clarity, overall well-being.
Treat how it's making you feel better.
Yes. And lastly, remember that IF is a journey, not a destination. You're going to have ups and downs. It's normal. Be kind to yourself.
Okay.
Embrace the process. Celebrate every step you take toward a healthier you.
So it's about progress, not perfection.
That's it. It's about finding what works for you and making it a sustainable part of your life.
I love that.
Yeah.
It really is about mindset, isn't it? Approaching IF with intention and being kind to yourself.
It really is.
But even with the right mindset, people still have concerns.
Yeah, for sure.
Like energy levels. A lot of people worry they'll feel sluggish, tired during their fasting periods.
Yeah, you'd think going without food would make you tired, right?
You would.
But actually, a lot of people find that their energy levels improve with IF, once they're adapted, of course.
Really? That seems counterintuitive. How does not eating give you more energy?
Well, think back to that metabolic switch we talked about, burning fat for fuel instead of glucose.
Right.
When your body gets good at using fat for energy, it's a much more stable source.
Oh, interesting.
It's sustained energy, not those quick bursts you get from sugar.
So you're not crashing and burning all the time.
Exactly. And that can make a big difference in how you feel throughout the day.
Yeah, that makes sense. What about nutrient deficiencies?
Okay.
If you're eating less often, are you going to miss out on vitamins and minerals?
It's a valid concern, but it's totally manageable. The key is, again, making smart choices when you are eating.
Okay.
Really focus on those nutrient-dense foods. Whole grains, fruits, veggies, lean protein, healthy fats.
So it's even more important to eat good food.
Absolutely. And if you're worried about specific nutrients, talk to a registered dietitian.
Right. Good idea.
They can help you put together a meal plan that makes sure you're getting everything you need.
Personalized advice is always good. Okay, so let's talk about the latest research on IF. There's a lot of buzz about brain health and longevity.
There is. It's fascinating stuff, although a lot of it's still preliminary,
Okay.
We need more long-term studies on humans to really confirm these findings.
Right, of course. But tell us what they're finding so far. What's the excitement about brain health?
Well, in animal studies, they're seeing that IF might stimulate the growth of new brain cells, which is pretty amazing.
Wow, that's huge.
And it might improve memory function
All right.
and even protect against neurodegenerative diseases.
Like Alzheimer's.
Yeah, exactly. But again, this is early research.
Right.
It's ongoing. Scientists are really trying to understand how this applies to humans.
Yeah, it's fascinating stuff. What about longevity? Is there any evidence that IF can actually help us live longer?
A lot of the research on lifespan has been done in animals, but it's really intriguing.
Like what? What have they found?
Well, they've seen that animals who practice IF, they tend to live longer, healthier lives compared to those who eat freely whenever they want.
So there could be a link between IF and, lifespan.
It's a possibility for sure. It's something scientists are definitely looking into. We can't just, apply those findings directly to humans.
Right.
But it opens up some exciting possibilities for the future.
I'm definitely curious to see where this research goes. So, big picture, what can our listener do with all this information?
Okay, well, first and foremost, remember, IF is not for everyone. It's really important to think about your own health, your lifestyle, your goals.
So don't just try it because it's popular.
Exactly. Talk to your doctor first, especially if you have any health conditions or you're taking any medications.
Good advice.
They can help you decide if IF is a good fit for you.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And then what? Once you've got the green light from your doctor?
Start experimenting. Try out different methods, see what works best with your routine, what you enjoy.
Right. It's got to be something you can stick with.
Exactly. And it's not all or nothing,
Yeah.
You can adjust your fasting schedule, adjust your calorie intake. Just pay attention to your body, figure out what works for you.
It's all about finding that sweet spot.
It is. And don't beat yourself up if you, slip up sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
It happens. It's a journey, not a race.
That's so true. Well, this has been amazing. We've covered so much about intermittent fasting.
We shall.
Science, the benefits, the practical stuff.
Some of the concerns. I hope it's been helpful.
I think so. Hopefully our listener feels like they can make an informed decision now
Yeah, that's the goal.
about whether IF is right for them and, how to do it safely.
If they choose to try it, absolutely.
Remember, knowledge is power. When it comes to your health, understanding these things is so important.
Couldn't agree more.
So keep exploring, keep learning.
And thank you for joining us on the Deep Dive.
Until next time.